Hello, everybody. Welcome to this impromptu podcast where we're going to talk about The Night in Question. The Night in Question, for those of you that don't know, is a LARP. That's right, live action roleplay focused on a Vampire the Masquerade night. It's more of a one-shot rather than your traditional LARPing, where it's sort of like a chronicle or a campaign, depending on your system. So I'm not the only one that's going to do this little impromptu review. I also have my wife here, Bethany. Bethany.
Hello.
So, as I said, this is both our first time, and when I found out about The Night in Question, I saw a few videos online on YouTube about people talking about their experiences and whatnot, and I kind of wanted to pave the way forward, making my own video to maybe, who knows, one day help somebody else who's thinking about going to The Night in Question and has no experience, just like me or Bethany did.
I feel like this one will be like good too and different because I feel like there's probably a lot of relationships out there where like one person is super interested in it and the other person maybe is like on the fence or is like, oh no, that's not my thing, kind of how I was. And then, you know, maybe hearing like my experience with it or, you know.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. So I like a lot of creepy stuff, monsters, vampires especially, and you know, horror movies and all that stuff. What about that interests you?
Nothing.
Yeah. Did you enjoy The Night in Question?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot to dive into.
Yeah.
Like from my aspect of it, but yeah, you're definitely like in our relationship. You're like the nerd.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair, right?
That's fair.
Okay, yeah, you're
Absolutely.
the nerd. I'm more of the one that like would see people doing something like this and be like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
What is going on? What are these people doing? Like on campus when we'd see people like sword fighting and stuff.
Or
like,
the
oh yeah, they're
the zombie Nerf gun thing.
Yeah,
People do
okay,
that in
yeah.
college. That was fun.
Yeah. Okay, and you were like, oh yeah, that's called LARPing. It's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. And I was like, no, it's not. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was like literally, I mean, yeah, that's just my like thought, I guess, before this weekend was just like, oh no, I would never do anything like that.
Yeah.
That's a no for me. We have a 2-year-old.
Right, yeah.
And we don't really get a lot of time away from her.
Right.
So, you know, you were like, hey, I have a great idea. Like this experience where we can go and get our first time away from our daughter, just us two. It'll be this fun thing that I've been wanting to do for a while. And I was basically just like the supportive wife that was like, yeah, this will be your thing. I'm kind of just excited for a weekend away from the girl. And it turned out to be a lot of fun.
So while we're new to LARPing, we're not necessarily new to like role playing. I'm huge into tabletop role playing games.
No, you're obsessed with tabletop role playing
I'm
games.
obsessed with tabletop role playing games. D&D 5th edition is kind of what we've mainly been playing. We dabble in Vampire Masquerade a little bit and some other games that I picked up over the years. We spend a lot of time role playing in character in our games, and I spend a lot of time like just developing characters and just kind of getting in different mindsets of different characters and, you know, basically doing what we do in a LARP, trying to figure out how they would, you know, enact or approach different situations and the like. And I think that definitely helped us with our experience, although I really don't think you need any experience at all to have a good time.
No, I don't think you do. I mean, obviously, I am much less experienced than you. All of it, honestly.
That's fair, yeah.
You definitely had more, like, knowledge going into it. I mean, you had, like, researched how everything was going to play out. You read the player's hand guide, like, front to back.
Mm-hmm.
You had your character all developed. You were constantly on Discord, like, making connections with people before we got there. And I kind of just, this is the character I picked, and I have a name for her.
Yeah.
And that was literally it. I mean, I think, like, I posted on Discord once or twice. Like, you set me up with it.
I did.
But, like, and I honestly forgot to check it again after I posted on it. And then I kind of just was like, oh, shit, It's this
Yeah.
weekend.
Oh shit, it's here. Yeah. Oh fuck.
Oh damn! I've planned absolutely nothing except for my character name.
And that's really one reason why I wanted to do this like little review, was because we can kind of compare somebody like me who like spent a few, at least since July, I was pretty heavily involved in the Discord, talking to people, trying to make connections, trying to plan out different like little scenes and whatnot. And then you were like the complete opposite, posted like a couple of times, didn't make any connections before we actually got there,
Yeah.
even within your own like group.
Yeah. The only person I talked to and I realized had reached out to me was Sunny.
Sunny. Yeah.
And I didn't realize that really until like we got there.
We got there. Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh yeah, I saw your post on Discord." And I was like, "You did?" And then I was like, "Oh yeah, Discord. Let me log in and see who's been
And
talking
this
to
is
me."
Sunny the character. I think there's actually someone named Sunny.
Oh.
Sorry, I don't know everybody's names.
Okay, yeah, just to reference, like we are going to be using character. Can we use character names the whole time?
For sure.
I just feel like it's going to be a lot easier. Honestly, the entire time we were there, like I have enough trouble as it is remembering people's names, so I told everyone from the bat, like, while we're here, your character's name, because I'm not gonna remember anything else.
Exactly.
Like, so yeah, I mean Sunny the character. She played a blood bag for the weekend, which I guess we'll explain later. But
she was awesome.
Yeah, she was great.
We're from Louisiana, so Austin is about a 5-ish hour drive from us, depending on how many stops you make in traffic.
But it's in Bastrop, which is
It's in
technically
Bastrop,
a little closer to us than Austin is.
It was a nice drive. We get there, a lot of trees. I've actually never been to Austin itself before, but I know you had just gone the weekend prior.
I went like the weekend prior for a bachelorette trip, so I did that drive 2 weekends back to back.
Yeah.
If I could have just stayed in Austin for the week, that would have been great.
That would've been
but
legit.
like, I have a job and a child, and I can't.
Yeah.
I can't stay away that long. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because I feel like we went from like Rita's 2 and we went on absolutely no trips, nowhere, anywhere. And within the past month, we've done like 3 or 4 trips, which is like our old self prior to having Rita.
You're right. It's crazy.
And now I'm just exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just
No
want to go to
trips.
sleep.
I'm good. I just want to be in staycation, whatever.
Yeah.
I just want to go to work,
Yeah.
and that's it. I want to be in my car as least as
No,
possible.
literally. Like, I'm so excited for this weekend where I can just like listen to this podcast and do nothing.
Yeah. So we get to Bastrop on the Friday, like a few hours before they have the optional character building stuff, and
I'm nervous as hell.
you're nervous as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who are going to be watching this who have no experience with the night in question, if you have any question on whether or not you should do the Friday optional stuff, I say 100% you should. It was so fun getting asked these character building questions, doing these like character building workshops to get you think about things you may not think about. At least as a like an RPG TTRPG player, I don't think about how my character walks or depending on how they're mad or angry or about to kill somebody. I never thought about that before. That's one of the things you do, right? You walk around as your character, depending, okay, you're happy,
like, okay,
you're sad.
pretend like, they just heard the best news they've ever heard in their life. How would your character walk? I feel like you had developed so much of your character that those kind of questions were easy for you. Or I don't want to say easy, but like maybe you already had like this idea of who your character was. So you're like, okay, how would they walk? Like, well, I've made my character like this, so they probably walk like this. And then that was probably easier for you. For me, those first few questions were really hard. Like I was like, I don't know. Her name's Rebecca.
Right.
Like that's literally all I had. I was like, she's a teen mom. Like, how would a teen mom walk? I literally hadn't developed anything. So I guess like that part got my brain like flowing.
Yeah.
I feel like if all you have is your character name and you don't really have anything else developed of your character, that Friday thing is almost like mandatory.
Yeah.
Like you need to
'cause,
go
like, if you
to like figure out who you are,
Right. I feel like if you wouldn't have gone to the Friday night thing, come Saturday, you would have had literally.
Oh, I would have
like,
been
nothing.
lost.
I
would have been really lost. I mean, there were parts where I feel like I was already maybe kind of lost.
But I think that's
but
part of the structure, I think,
Yeah.
over it. But yeah, definitely the Friday night thing, like it's optional, but I recommend that if you have the chance, if you can fork over the extra cash to get that extra night at the hotel or the gas money to get there, 100% go and just hang out with everybody too.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like the community, like all the players, Matt and his staff and his crew, like everybody was so legit. Everybody was so badass
Yeah.
and just open and just non-judgmental, cool people.
They really were. And I had said this too. Like when we first walked in, I grabbed your arm and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm the person that doesn't fit in here. Like
Right.
I'm the one who probably knows the least in this whole room about D&D role playing." And then they started raising their hands of like, "Who's LARPed before?" And everybody's like raising their hand and I'm like, "Oh my God, I've never done this before. I don't fit in here. Like, this is going to be rough because how do you, role play and step out of your comfort zone when you're already not comfortable?"
Right.
So like, I feel like initially, like early Friday evening, I was nervous as hell because I was like, I don't know these people. Nobody knows me. I'm nervous. I've never done this before. But everybody was so welcoming. Everybody was so just like, just let loose, like jump into things, go head first. Like, you'd say something crazy or kind of off the wall or whatever. Nobody looked at you like you were crazy. They were just like, "Oh, hell yeah."
Yeah.
So I feel like the whole environment, like everybody's attitude with it, like made me much more willing to participate and open up. Yeah, they were all great.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like the whole gist of Friday is like developing your character, but it's also making connections.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of moments where you're sitting in small groups. Basically everything that was happening on Discord, you're doing in person.
Yeah.
It's like a fire round of just, who are you? How do we know each other? What did you do that pissed me off? What did you do that I liked? Why are we connected? How do we know each other? What's our background? It's basically writing your backstory is what Friday is.
You even get opportunities to make connections with people that you may not even talk to at all.
Yeah.
People that have no relation to your character, whether it be like the group or whatever, just completely random people you get to, have a moment to talk to and actually build something, which...
Yeah. And I think Matt had even said that too. He was like, okay, now we're going to build random connections. They may or may not come up.
Right.
And I think I know for sure the friendship with the vampire, that did not come up.
Yeah. One person becomes your enemy. One person becomes your friend with a random connection. My enemy definitely played a part in both of our nights.
Yeah. She kind of not became my enemy. Enemy / I don't know how you would word that, partner in crime.
Yeah, partner in crime. and my friend was also, so both of our friend random people were both vampires. Mine I kind of had a little bit of an interaction with, but the night was just so chaotic. I didn't really have time to do
the
much.
The vampire I was talking to though, he said a line that like cracked me up and I thought was so funny. He had said something like, "Yeah, we probably won't be friends." And I was like, "Ugh, okay, then fine. We don't have to be friends." He's like, "I mean, you can be mad about it. It's like if your hamburger got mad at you." It's like, I really don't care.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's like if your snack is mad at you. Like, does that bother you? It's like, no, probably not.
Yeah. Friday night was awesome. Got to meet everybody. Got warmed up like a big icebreaker for like the whole weekend.
And it ended with barbecue.
And then with barbecue, which was awesome.
Texas barbecue specifically.
Yeah,
it was very Texas twang barbecue. Yeah.
It was good. It was different. We're used to, Cajun country.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't. I'm not saying it was bad. It was good, but it was different.
No, but we're from Louisiana. Yeah. We have Louisiana taste buds.
We got Louisiana taste buds. The potato salad was boss.
Oh my God.
Never had potato salad that way before.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It's great. So then the Saturday there is a mandatory meeting that happens in the afternoon where like if you don't go, like you basically just wasted your money. Like you're not going to the actual LARP.
Yeah, it's mandatory. You have to be there. Not just have to be there, you have to be there and not be on your phone. Like, I feel like they were scanning the room, making sure everyone was paying attention.
Which I appreciate because they are talking about important stuff.
It's true, yeah. And they close the door. They even, like, make an announcement. Does anyone need to go to the bathroom before this starts? Because the doors are closing. Like, you're not leaving.
Right.
You have to be here. Like, you have to be present and in the moment.
I appreciated that. And I think this is the third night in question, the third time they've done it. And supposedly, from what they were saying, this was also the shortest one that they've done. Yeah. The shortest, sort of safety meeting. I did watch previous videos, people who went either the first or second time. And I do remember people saying it was, like, long. It was, like, the part of the night. It was a part of the weekend that was, like, long but necessary. Being that it was my first time here, I enjoyed it wholeheartedly. Like, all the stuff they talked about was cool. Learning how to like throw fake punches and how to like properly negotiate between everybody was cool. How to fake fall and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. I think asking the questions on Discord was like really cool. Whoever's giving the lecture on whatever topic, they'd have to stop and answer questions. They could just keep going, and then they would finish, and someone would be like, "Hey, okay, we got a question here, question here."
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Or the questions that were like super specific. Like, okay, for me, I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I wanted to know, like, could I possibly keep, you know, some of my glucose tabs in the sanctuary hut in case my blood sugar drops low? Is that an option, or do I just need to keep it in my car? And that's not something like I really wanted to ask in front of everybody, but it is something I wanted answered before we finished. So the Discord was like a great, like, hey, just wondering, can I do this? And then let's move on. Like, let's not bother everybody with that question, you know?
I agree.
Yeah, I liked the Discord questions. Honestly, I really liked the safety meeting. I feel like it took a lot of like the question out of like how things were going to work and how things were going to run. Like, they have a signal and a symbol for everything. If, you know, you're uncomfortable and you don't want to do something that's going on, or you don't want to be involved in a certain scene, this is the symbol you make, and you walk away. Or you don't even have to walk away. The scene should just end. Whoever's interacting with you and making you uncomfortable should instantly just stop. And there's a sanctuary hut, which is like a tent right outside of like the little scene. You can go just if you're ever feeling like uncomfortable or feeling like you just need a break from everything. I don't know. I thought all of that was cool.
Yeah,
you know?
I did too.
You look at this stuff on, and I remember like you even showed our friends, our close friends, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, like y'all are about to get groped," or like,
right.
like something crazy is gonna happen, something inappropriate. It looks like everybody there is gonna be
like
intoxicated. Yeah, like it just looks like this is gonna be wild. And like right off the bat in the safety meeting, it was like, nope. That will not be happening. I think like the first rule was like you will not be under the influence of anything.
Yeah.
You will be in your right mind, and this is all the safety things that we do. Do not make us come up with new rules. I just really liked it.
Yeah, and I think again it has to hark to the community that Matt and has built, just because like I mean nobody's out there trying to like break the rules and be a rebel. Like everybody's there to have a good time, to have a really story driven crazy weekend all about, you know, with vampires. And like living through a horror movie, and like, yeah, this is why we're here. We're not here to just goof around and just try to, you know, fuck with other people. Like, we're just here to have fun.
Yeah, I liked it.
I liked it a lot. But we kind of talk about our characters a little bit.
Okay.
I was playing a character named Roderick Lullin. He was a method actor. He wasn't like famous or anything like that. His kind of goal was to just be the best method actor he could be. He kind of took the concept of method acting to the extreme, where he would like, you know, socially isolate himself, and just like he was so focused on the art that he had like a blurred sense of reality. And I think that kind of led him to like depression as well as like drug abuse, and he was like addicted to like different drugs and stuff like that.
My character's name was Rebecca. I just told everybody to call me Becca. So everybody was pretty much calling me Becca all night. I was the teen mom of the event. I was in a group called the We're Not Supposed to Be Here group or whatever. And it basically was just a group of high school students that had basically been goody two-shoes all through high school, I guess, except for me, obviously. But basically the goody two-shoes study all the time, and this is like our first night out and our first chance to just party and have a good time. You know, we were literally just there to live it up and have fun. Do you want me to say how we were tied? Did I bring up that idea, or did you bring up that idea?
I think we both had it in our mind, and maybe you brought it up, and I was like, you know, I was thinking the exact same thing, like whenever we talked about it. But
yeah,
you go ahead and explain it.
I guess, so since my character was a teen mom, we went ahead. So we do have, like I said, a 2-year-old daughter. So I was like, okay, I'll make the kid 2. I'll say, you know, I got pregnant when I was, 16. And I have a 2-year-old, and I'm graduating high school now. And I'm going to make it a little boy because we have a little girl. Wanted to do opposites. And then I was like, it'd be kind of cool if our fictional character is like our real daughter, and like Dylan's the dad. That'd be great. So maybe Roderick could just be the dad of this fictional kid that we named Thomas. Yeah. So I basically was like, hey, do you want to be my baby daddy? And you were like,
Hell yeah. I was actually thinking the same exact thing. I just didn't bring it up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like that'll make for some like really juicy, dramatic stuff, and I feel like it did. I feel like it drove a lot of drama.
Absolutely.
And so basically your character was baby daddy who just ditched me.
Yeah, like, oh, you're pregnant? Well, I'm trying to do this whole acting thing, so like I'm out. And I think like we kind of talked about it, like Roderick was probably like in his early 20s and you were like 16.
Yeah.
And then you ended up getting pregnant. He just like ghosted you and just disappeared.
Yeah.
And wanted nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my whole group, when they found out that you were this actor who had just ditched me to like pursue your career more or whatever, was like, hey, what if we all were in like acting class together and we would go to see Roderick's plays and we all know Roderick and you ended up hooking up with him and like that's how we know kind of about him and like we're tied in with him too. And I was like, wow, yeah, that sounds really cool.
And that all happened on Friday,
That
right?
all happened on Friday. I was about to say, yeah, that's not something that like we had planned before or talked about like on Discord or anything. That was something that just kind of came up just from like talking and getting into those small groups and like character developing and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I guess so. You said you were part of the "We Are Not Supposed to Be Here" group. I was part of the Thespians, which were like this like acting group. We had Nathaniel, who was like another actor.
Love him.
Yeah, Nathaniel, Ricky, you're awesome, man.
We had so much fun. You were great.
You were great. We had a lot of fun with you. Then we had a guy his name was Dylan Drake. I didn't see him I don't know. I don't remember interacting with him that much that night. I didn't see him. And then we also had, I can't remember if her character name was Leah or Ruth. Sorry. But she was kind of like our creative director. She was the one that was kind of like pulling us all together, like the cat herder, as it were, trying to get us like to play. We were doing like this vampire play, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool if like Roderick would do a bunch of like research because he's like this hyper realistic method actor who just gets way too involved in his like acts and, you know, has a blurred sense of reality and stuff. So like, oh, it'd be cool if he like did research and he came across some random forum and saw a picture of the Camarilla Ankh and grew a liking to it and found somebody to make a necklace out of it. And then he's going to go to the night in question wearing this Camarilla Ankh as if, you know, like a blood gang member at a crypt party where representing the Bloods, you know.
So if anybody at the event felt bad for Roderick at the end, no, he did it to himself.
I did it to myself.
He 100% created that ending for himself. Like,
I did.
Before we even left, I think, weren't you talking to Brennan? Like, Brennan
I'm getting deoperized at this.
Yeah. He's like, I am for sure dying the final death. Like, they are 100% killing my ass by the end of this.
Yeah.
And, I mean, yeah. Anyway, not to give away the ending.
Not to give away the ending.
But you knew it before.
Oh, I knew
before
it.
You even.
And yeah, I did reach out to one of the war packs. They were called the Seven Deadlies, based off of the Seven Deadly Sins. I thought their lore was like super cool, so I reached out to them and we kind of talked and came up with something. And I loved the way it worked out. It was cool. Go into like the night proper.
First of all, like me and Dylan have very, very different stories and timelines. Yeah. I feel like everybody does. Anybody who was there, like nobody had the same experience. Everybody had completely different experiences throughout the entire thing. So like we can go act by act.
Yeah, we'll go act by act and kind of talk.
But like, yeah, because our just the from beginning to end was, and we had moments where we like intertwined and our stories laced together, but for the most part, they're very different.
So yeah, so we get there and we kind of get there before the night actually starts. We walk around. The place is actually pretty big. It's a pretty big site, and this place is definitely made for like vampire shenanigans because there's a bunch of cutoffs and places to be isolated and rooms and stuff, and like almost like maze-like different sections with the bar and the dance floor, like the commons area, the different alleyways, the graveyard. There's a bunch of different places to go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we were nosy because it was our first time.
So like, well, let's check this place out. So the first
time we were like, oh, okay, before the game even starts, like we gotta lay the groundwork. Like we gotta draw the little map in our head, see where everything goes. So yeah, as soon as we got there, we were just like, okay, what is this room? What's in here? Yeah. What's back here? I think at one point I like wandered into the bathrooms by accident. I was like, what's over here? Oh, a porta potty.
Well, let's go to the bathroom. We're like, well, you know what? We might as well go to the bathroom now. So the night actually starts and we kind of all gather. I think everyone pretty much gathers around the dance floor. They're playing like a little music cue to let you know, like, hey, the night's starting.
Yeah, it's like heartbeats and police sirens and like people screaming, and it's like what happened on the night in question. Yeah, so my group of friends, we basically had decided that like we're showing up to this party. One of the, all of us each in the group had like our own little corruptions, but there was one girl in the group that was very goody two-shoe and would like never be seen at this party, right? So we decided that we were going to go to the party without her. And I'm the mom, the whole group kind of just shunned me out and didn't invite me. I invited myself to the party. When it started, we were all kind of like, okay, we're supposed to be showing up to this party, but we're kind of like in the middle of the dance floor right now. So it doesn't feel like we really like showed up.
Yeah,
it kind of just felt like we all of a sudden were like, okay, like we're here, I guess. So we all decided that we were just going to like walk out of the setup and walk back in as if we were like walking into this party.
Yeah.
Which I think was good for us because it kind of like gave us a chance to like sit outside the gate and just be like, all right, character mode. All right, let's
That's
go.
cool. Yeah. So y'all literally like left and came back in.
Yeah, like we left. And at one point we like ran into a vampire on the way out and they were like, you really, really want to turn around now? And just so you guys know, like really, if a vampire says really, really, it's basically them using their powers to like
mind control,
dominate you into like doing what they want you to do. So we kind of just stopped him and we were like, well, wait, like we're just trying to like reset and get into like game mode. And he was like, oh, okay, my bad. So we walk in and there's all kind of people just chit chatting, talking. Everybody's kind of starting the game, getting into character mode. And the music is playing, and so we walk in, we go to the dance floor, and we're all kind of just like, this is a pretty cool party, I guess. Like, whose idea was it to come here again? Like, who got the notice for this party? Sam was basically like, oh, this was my idea. I knew a couple friends and a couple friends told me about it or whatever. Like, it's fine. It'll be fun. This will be great. It was me, Sam, Ash, and Charlie. Those were the people in our group. And so we walk in and we walk over to the dance floor and we run into Annie, who's like the goody two-shoe of the group. And she's just in the middle of the dance floor, just like dancing and partying it up. And we were all just like, what? Like, what are you doing here? You would never be caught twice at a party like this. And you're going to college. You have a whole scholarship. Like, what are you doing? And she tells us, like, I lost my scholarship. They caught drugs on me. Like, somebody planted drugs on me. So which one of you fuckers did that? And so then we kind of all started bickering in the middle of the dance floor. And there was, like, this peace guru guy in the middle of the dance floor. And he was like, y'all are talking too much. Just get in the vibe. Come on, dance. So we all just kind of, like, dropped it and just started dancing. And we danced for a while, and then we left the dance floor. And we were just chit-chatting and talking, and that's when your character, Roderick, walked by me. And as you were walking by me, I instantly was like, okay, I'm just going to hide. I'm going to hide from him. Like, it's too early in the night, not ready to get into all that. So I guess then my character, too, didn't know that your character was going to be there. So the first thought was like, okay, hide. So, hid behind a wall. You were talking to my friends for like a good little while. Sunny was there too. Yeah, I guess you were talking to Sunny.
I think so.
And then you ended up walking away. You left, and when I went back to the group to talk to them, Sunny was like, he's pretending like he doesn't know you. Who is Becca? Who are you talking about? And I was like, oh my God, like he's pretending like he doesn't even, like I don't even exist. And so then Sunny's pissed. Sunny's like ready to go fight people. And then my whole group just starts. We should kick Roderick's ass. He's an asshole. Let's kick his ass. And we should go find him. And this is bullshit. We should kick his ass. And then that's when Honey walks up to us and is like, are y'all talking about Roderick? And I was like, yeah, how do you know Roderick? Oh, he's an ex of mine. And I literally like out of game, wife Bethany had no idea that my husband had another ex at this party. like in my brain, I was like, when did he even like make this connection with this other character? Like, what the fuck? Like, blindsided.
Yeah, that connection was made on the Friday with the random enemy.
The random enemy.
Yeah.
She was your random enemy. Well, it worked very well.
It did. It added so much extra drama to the already dramatic
like love square,
Yeah,
triangle, whatever this
some
was.
kind of
Like, I don't
enigma.
even know.
Yeah.
So anyway, my first act was basically just a bunch of running around, trying to figure out what the plan was. Oh, we're all partying, we're having a good time, doing drugs, drinking,
Yeah.
dancing, just talking, figuring out who knew who and how. It was a lot of that. We just kind of were going around talking to different people, and watching Sam just slowly burn herself. She literally was just like high as hell, just acting crazy. She was that one friend that like drank too much at the party way too early, and we all felt like we were babysitting her like very early on in the night. So that was kind of how like the first act went for me.
Cool. So my act one, before I dive right into it, one of the vampires that I was talking to over Discord had asked me if I wanted to receive a wax sealed envelope with instruction to open it at the actual event. I was like, that sounds badass. I'm all in. So I got the letter not long before we left the hotel, and I opened it at the rave. A handful of the mortals there, myself included, each got a wax sealed letter. The letter on the outside kind of like, said to Roderick and had all kind of information about like my personal life, how I was like a deadbeat dad and all this other stuff. Like he knew all the information, all the secrets about my character. So we open up the letter itself, and the top half of the letter is kind of like talking about trying to pass a trial, seeing if I'm worthy, that I need to find other people to help me find something for somebody. And long story short, the top of the letter kind of gives you clues on who I need to find. On the bottom part of the letter, it's like half of a passage from something, and they have the other piece. So we'd put our pieces together and we could figure it out. So like literally, as soon as the night starts, I open up my letter. I leave the dance floor. There's some bleachers right off the side of the dance floor. I see, I can't remember the character's name, I'm sorry. But he had like he was like I think he was like a bookkeeper or some kind of occult lore guy. I see him there with the letter. I'm like, oh, sweet. I already found who I'm looking for. So I just like casually get up, walk around the bleachers, sit down. He's reading his letter. I let him do his thing. One of the folks with him looks at me and they're like, who are you? And that's, I'm like, I think I'm a potential friend. And I pull out my letter and show it to the one reading it. And they're reading it and like, I don't think you know what I'm looking for. And I was like, what do you mean? We both have this letter. I'm supposed to find somebody with a letter. That's you, right? They look at it. Well, it looks like I'm looking for some kind of drug dealer. Is that you? I was like, nah, I do drugs, but I don't deal them. They already knew who they were looking for, apparently. Tasha Miller, which was one of the lab rats, as they were called. They were kind of like made drugs and stuff. So I was like, well, damn, that's not who I'm looking for. Okay, let me go walk around. I'll walk around and literally find somebody else reading a letter at the bar. So I walk up, and my letter had said I needed to find somebody with a name that was similar to a shade of blue. So I just walk up to her. I'm like, hey, what's your name? And she looks at me like, Eva? What's your name? I'm like, oh, I don't think you're who I'm looking for. I'm Roderick. I got one of these letters too. We're kind of like trade letters, reading it over. I'm like, do you know anybody who's got a name similar to Blue's? Like, do you know anybody that goes to the Eternity nightclub? That was another clue. No, sorry, I don't know how to help you. I'm like, well, damn. So I'm walking around and I see Honey's twin brother holding a book, and he's just kind of anxiously holding this book. So I walk up to him like, hey, do you sell books? Honey's like, that's my twin brother, you jackass. Roger, like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, it's you. Okay, well, sorry. Just forget you saw me. And somewhere in between all that, Sonny shows up. I guess after meeting up with you, was like, "Hey, Becca's here. Becca's here. Don't you want to go talk to her?" I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Who's Becca?" Like, don't you remember from high school? I'm like, "No, the name's not ringing any bells." So I hand her some drugs. I'm like, "Here, you look a little tense. Why don't you take some drugs, relax, forget you ever saw me," and I'll walk away. Anyway, then the guru guy you were talking about, I ended up seeing him and like one of his like group mates. They're talking to each other, and I just kind of like walk up like, hey guys, and they're both awesome. I'm sorry I don't remember you guys' names, but y'all are so cool. I'm like, hey, and they're like, whoa, what's up, man? How's it going? What can we help you with? I'm like, do you guys sell any books, or do you know anybody that goes to the Eternity nightclub? well, we don't sell any books, but we know someone who knows someone that goes to the Eternity Light Club. Here, come with us. And they both take my hand and kind of guide me back to like the main area. And the girl with she had the three sunglasses with the three circles. She's like, wow, you're really tense. You need to like cleanse. It was so cool. Like, I don't know. It was so immersive. So they bring me to their leader, and I get some drugs from the guru guy. And long story short, they point me to somebody else who points me to somebody else who actually is who I'm looking for. So I find Indigo. That's who I was supposed to find. She worked for an occult bookstore. Like, yeah, I found a couple other people with the letters too. She's like, well, where should we meet? I'm like, So there, one of the booths that were at the site was a museum setup called Ill Met by Moonlight. And long story short, my character had interacted with the vampires and the ghoul that run it. Like, let's go over there. I know the spot. It's cool. It's a little weird, but it's a cool place. We'll meet up there. Okay, I'll go get the person I found and meet up with you there. I'm like, cool. I'm going to get a drink. Going to get a drink, and somewhere in between there, that's when your posse shows up and they start beating me up. I get slapped in the face and punched or something. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Who are these people talking about Rebecca? Like, people I've never seen before.
And I did not tell a single one of them to go after you.
Yeah.
Not a single one. I told no one to go after you. They were just doing this.
Yeah. So they find me. They, like, beat me up a little bit. I get a drink. I go to the meetup, and I see Indigo there with Darby. Which Darby, like, I'm sorry, I don't know your actual name. We're just going to use character names for, like, the ease of this. But Darby, you are so cool. I'm so glad that these letters brought us to interact with one another, because we probably wouldn't have really interacted much throughout the night. Darby is like this gang member. I think they were called the Cage Rats or something like that. Was one of the gangs. She's looking at her all pissed off. I'm like, hey, so you're the one who's got the letters? And then while we're talking, a vampire starts walking up, and Darby immediately grabs the letter out of my hand and puts it in her back pocket before the vampire sees. Obviously, we didn't know it was a vampire. He walks up and he's like, hey, you guys really, really want to like me. And Darby wasn't buying it. I was like, yeah, whoa, what's up, dude? You're awesome, man. And he's like, yeah, where you guys? He's like asking us all his personal information. Where you guys are from? Why you at this party? Like, who are? Tell me a little bit about yourself. And we're talking to him, and he's like, you guys are going to have the best night of your life. I promise. And it was really cool. So he walks away, and I'm like, Darby, like, whoa, like, can I have my letter back? Like, what's wrong with you? She's like, sorry, like, I don't like this shit. This is bullshit. We need to keep this under wraps. You can't just go flaunting this thing off everywhere. I'm like, whoa, like, you seem kind of tense. Do you need some drugs? I pull out the drugs, and I think her character hated drugs. So she, like, gets really pissed off, puts her finger in my face, starts, like, aggressively walking towards me, and just, like, full on yelling at me. I got, like, my hands up, backing away, like, whoa, Darby, I'm sorry. Like, I hit a nerve. Like, I'm sorry. It was cool. Basically on this wild goose chase, trying to figure out what to do. We figured out we have to find somebody called the General, which was Salazar. He was the one of the vampires. So we figured it out. Like, all right, we got to meet the General. We got to talk to the General. But Darby's like, no, we're going to corner his ass, and we're going to figure out what the fuck he wants from us. I'm like, so we're going to, like, kill him? She's like, if it comes down to it, fine, whatever. I was like, so do you have, like, knives or something? Like, how are we going to kill this guy? I was like, I'm an actor, right? I don't know how to actually fight. It's all acting. She holds up her fist to me as if to show, like, that's her weapon, and then she flicks me off. It was fucking perfect. Yeah, so long story short, my act one was pretty much trying to figure out the letters, and then how to get the General isolated so we can, like, corner him and, like, beat him up if need be to figure out what he wants from us. And in between all that, I'm getting my ass kicked by your posse and Honey. Honey comes and gets aggravated too. So yeah, that was pretty much my act one in a nutshell. Sorry, hopefully that was easy to understand.
So Act 2 starts with a band playing. It was the Raising Cane's band, and they start playing. And so, I'm that girl that's still just trying to have a good time at the party. I'm like, yeah, okay, perfect. The band's starting to play. Let's go right up front. Let's dance. Let's have a good time. Let's just forget all the drama of, like, my friends punching, my baby daddy in the face repeatedly, even though I'm not telling them to do that. And so, in Act 1, too, I had met Nathan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I met Nathan in Act 1, and basically was like, I'm tired of my friends, like, shaming me for coming to this party. Just because I'm a mom doesn't mean I can't have a good time. And he was like, you know what? Yeah, fuck them. Let me go tell them something. Like, so he like walks over with me and he's like, y'all need to back off. She's just trying to have a good night. Let her have some fun. Let her loosen up. She's allowed to do that every now and then. And so that's kind of like the connection we made, you know, at the very beginning, early on. But yeah, I kept going to the table for drugs from Jackrabbit, and I basically like.
And I had met up with him at one point too, early in the night.
Nathan.
Well. Jackrabbit.
Oh, Jackrabbit. Okay. Yeah. So I keep going to Jackrabbit's table. He was kind of like the token like drug dealer of the party, I guess.
Yeah.
Like he had his little table set up, and Sam introduced me to him at first and was like, "You're gonna love this guy. He's really cool. Like he's not gonna give you any issues. Just he's gonna help you out." So I walk over, and I had decided my character's probably pretty poor. I don't have much cash on me. I'm giving all my cash to my kids. So I pull out some like crinkled up ones out of my pocket, and I'm like, look, like this is all I have. Can you help me out? Like all of my money is going to my kid. I really don't have much, but I want to have a good time tonight. He starts giving me drugs, and he's like, well, this is worth way more than a crinkled up $1 bill. You can do more for me. How about you go and start spreading these random rumors around? So he's telling me different things to go and just tell people. He's like, I'll give you these drugs if you go and, say this person ain't shit or, whatever. Like just telling me to say random people's names, just start spreading rumors, go from group to group and just say random shit. So I was just going to like groups of people and was just blurting out exactly what he told me to say. And then they were all like, man, what the fuck? What the fuck this bitch just said? Like, it was so funny.
Yeah.
It was just literally, it was like basically just taking gasoline and just like sprinkling it on the ground and then just throwing matches out. Like, here you go, everybody get pissed the fuck off at,
That's awesome.
everybody. So yeah, I had kind of been doing that throughout Act 1 and into Act 2. After the band finishes playing, walking around for a little while, I realized Sam in our group is missing. So then our whole group starts to be like, yeah, where is she? So we realize she's missing. So we start looking around, we're hunting for her, we can't find her, we have no idea where she's at. And at this point, I end up walking over, this is the part where I meet you. Do you want me to just like go into
Oh, we'll just say you start walking over the area with like the different buildings.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I guess we'll cut to my Act 2. My Act 2, I'm going to back up a little bit. But right before Act 1 ended, I see Darby talking to the general. We figured out who the general was. He was hard to miss once we saw him. And so I walk up to Darby like, hey, you found him? Like, what's going on? And like, before I can finish my sentence, Darby looks at me and holds up a finger. Is like, not now. You need to get the fuck out of here. I'm like, okay, all right. So I walk away. I go into the bar. And I'm walking into the bar. There's a bunch of gang members in there. And my back is, one of the gang members' back is to me. I'm like walking in. And I'm about to walk around him and try to grab a drink. He just stops, turns around. He's like, hey, kid, you may want to get out of here. It's not about to be pretty. I'm like, oh, shit. I was like, all right, well, look, I'm going to get out of here. So I walk back outside, and I see Darby by herself. The general's no longer there. No idea where he went. It was like a split second. He was just gone. I don't know. It's like, hey, Darby, so, like, what's up with the general? And she just looks at me, and she's like, you stay away from him. Don't you even think about fucking talking to this guy. Like, you understand? I was like, okay, I understand. I'm like, I think I need some drugs. Like, you seem tense. You want some drugs? And she apologized about this, but she did not need to. This was so cool. She just took the drugs out of my hands and just launched them. I don't even know where they went. She just fucking tossed them. And I was like, Darby, what the fuck? My drugs, man. She was like, get that shit out of my face. I thought, whatever. I was like, all right, fine. So we walked off. And then that's when I saw the general walking into his little art booth. And he had his ghoul, Daphne, right behind him. I gotta go talk to the general. I was like, Darby just told me not to, but I was like, I know Daphne. She's cool. She's like, I've been seeing her for months at the museum. Like, I can trust him. So I walk in there, and that's right when the music starts. Now, I wanted to go see the music. I'm sad because I didn't even hear the song, which, by the way, props to Raising Cane, because there was like a custom song that the bassist wrote. That's so fucking cool. I'm sorry I missed it. I definitely want to hear it. I'm going to hear it on Spotify when it's released, though. Don't you worry. So I'll go and I see the general, and he looks at me, and apparently the whole letter thing, he already got what he wanted. Well, the letters were supposed to lead him to a codex, which he already got. So I'm talking to him about, like, hey, general, and he's, like, talking to me, and he, like, knows all my history. I'm like, how do you know all this stuff? He's like, oh, I know lots of things. And I'm like, hey, so, like, how can we help you with the letters? And he's like, well, I already got what I wanted, so you're pretty useless to me now. And then he saw the Camarilla necklace around my neck. I never been so nervous and so like, oh my God, this is so cool at the same time. He saw the Camarilla necklace around my neck, got like super pissed. I was like, I'm alone with this dude. Everyone's at the band. Everyone's watching the band. Like, we're in this dark hut. He could like wreck my shit right now if he wanted to. And he's like arguing with me, yelling at me, telling me that the Camarilla or slave is like the symbol is like a sign of slavery. And he pulls out the Sabbat necklace around his neck and talking about his symbol is a sign of freedom. And he's like, come back here and I'll show you what's freedom. I'll show you what I really mean. I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm definitely coming back here. I leave. Finally meet up with Nathan, and then we're trying to talk, and as like we're talking, you're like, we weren't supposed to be here, friends. Start coming up one at a time and like beating the shit out of me. Like one of them comes up.
Did not tell them to.
I know. One of them comes up like, hey, I want to punch you in the face. I was like, all right, go ahead. It's like I get up, like I want to punch you in the face again. I'm like, all right. Like, how about I fall to the ground this time? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I fall to the ground, they walk away, and then I think Annie, was that the Goody Two Shoes one? Mm-hmm. She comes up, it's like, hey, can I backhand you? I'm like, and Nathan was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why are everybody beating up on you, man? He was like, dude, look, the next person that comes over here, I'm going to kick their ass. This is some bullshit. I'm like, right? I'm trying to have a good time. And like, all these people just kind of come and fight me and shit. And that's when my Sarah shows up. And she had kind of been picking on me, not picking on me, but like showing up everyone like a couple times throughout Act 1, like just like, hey, introducing herself and stuff. And then she walks up and she's like, holds up the little sign. It's like, hey, I want to embrace you. Can I embrace you? I'm like, oh, hell yeah. So she takes me out to the graveyard, and I'm like getting freaked out because Nathan had been taught earlier tonight. Nathan had arrived to the party late. He's like, yo, I got here late. Like, it was dark when I got here. And on my way in here, there were some people with some fucking shovels. Like 5 dudes like digging a pit or something. I don't know. And we had talked about checking it out. And so me, Nathan, and Matt go to check it out. And Matt puts his hand on my shoulder as we're like by the graves, and he's like, you really want to go dancing right now? I'm like, you know what, Nathan? I'm gonna go dance. You let me know what those shovel dudes are up to, and I'm gonna go see you at the party. Anyway, so I'm talking to my Sarah about the shovels and say, oh, we should go check it out. Like, I know the people there. They can give you the answers you want. I'm like, okay, cool. So she like has her arm around me, and she's like leading me, and she's just like talking about the party and stuff. We're getting closer and closer, and good way into Act 2 now. Shit's starting to get weird. People are like, hey, this person's bleeding, but I don't see any wounds. And like people just kind of like, you hear like a scream every once in a while, like, what the hell was that? It's like, oh, well, there's this movie crew. It's just a movie. That's all it is. It's all fake or whatever. Getting closer to the graves. We cut the corner, and there's a dude with a shovel there, and I'm like physically pulling away. I'm like getting super uncomfortable, and she's like pulling me back, like, no, like, it's fine, like, I know them, like, just around the corners, you're gonna get the questions the answers to the questions you seek. So we cut around, there's like people coming out of graves. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm like trying to pull. She's like, negotiation feed. I'm just gonna bite you. I'm just gonna aggressively bite you right now. I was like, okay, agreed. So she drains me, and then like I get hit in the head with the shovel and fall in the grave, and then I get turned. And then the rest of my Act 2 is pretty much, learning to be a vampire, trying to find a victim, and like, feed and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to find somebody. I find someone.
It has to be really like subtle at that point.
Yeah, it has to be really subtle.
Supposed to be, yeah.
So I find someone. I try to lure them away. It doesn't work. So I'm looking around, and in one of the tents, I see Honey. She's like woozy, and her friends in there. I don't know. Honey, something's wrong with Honey. She's like really woozy. Maybe it's a drug, but she was like bleeding, but I don't see where I can't figure out where she's bleeding from. So me and my sire both go in there. I feed off of Honey, and she feeds off of her friend that was in there. And then we leave. And then she's like, are you still hungry? I was like, yeah, I need more. She's like, okay, let's find someone else. Can you find someone else? And that's when I see you walking down the hall. And I'm in the museum, I think, at this point. And so at one point in the night, you had tried to talk to me, and I just kind of brushed you off. Yeah. So me being a vampire, I was like, hey, Becca, I thought about what you said, and I want to talk about it. And so I lure you into the building, and I get you in the side, and you're like, okay, so what do you want to talk about? And I just negotiation feed, and then my star
and I was like, you son of a
bitch, because you didn't notice my glow stick was gone.
No.
And then my star just kind of props in the middle of the doorway, just kind of like body blocking everybody so they can't see it. And then I feed, and then pretty much the rest of my Act 2 is kind of like messing with my powers and trying to figure out. We can go into that a little bit later, because I do use my powers against you at some point. But do you want to like cut into your Act 2 at this point?
Yeah. At this point, we're like walking around looking for Sam. I can't find Sam. I keep like, me and all my friends are like, some weird shit is going on. Like, we don't know what is happening, but it's something weird. We can't put our finger on it. So we're walking down that hall, and that's basically when I stumble right into Roderick's trap of like, hey, Becca, let's talk. And it happened so fast. Like, Ash was behind me, and then he just wasn't. I was by myself. You end up like feeding off of me. I'm like, okay, how would I feel after this? You're like, oh yeah, you're woozy. You don't feel well. So I kind of like stumble out, like my eyes are half open, half closed. I'm just like, oh, something doesn't feel right. Like, what was that? And that's when you were gone at this point. It was just me stumbling around in the shed by myself. And so then I'm like walking out. I have like blood all dripped down my shirt. I run into the Inquisitor. They were basically like, hey, what's going on? Like, you don't look so good. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm really confused. Like, I don't know what's going on. And apparently she wasn't supposed to show me her face, but she did. At this point, because I'm just like so out of it. I don't even, like, I'm beside myself. I don't know what's going on. What do you remember? Like, tell me what you remember. And I was like, there was Roderick was here. He was talking to me, and then all of a sudden I got weak and my neck hurts. What the hell happened? And I'm like rubbing on my neck. She like is just shaking her head and looks aggravated. They're like, who are you with? Who are you here with? And I was like, oh, Sam, I need to find Sam or Charlie. And all of a sudden then I see Sam. It's like a completely different person at this point. Extremely high, extremely intoxicated person is now like completely mellowed out, is following this girl named Gluttony around like a puppy dog, just doing everything that she tells her to, following her every move. They're asking me questions like, what were you doing with her? Like, why were you with her? And I was like, I don't know. I just was walking and I ran into Roderick and something happened and then she found me and she didn't seem too pleased with, whatever Roderick did. And they're like, oh, okay. So I'm sitting down or I'm talking to Sam for a little bit and they seem like they need their privacy or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to leave y'all be, like give y'all space. And so I'll walk away. That's when Honey comes up to me. And so I had seen Roderick, like, talking to Honey at one point or whatever. I didn't know what he was telling her, what he was saying. I now know, I guess, like, post-me knows that he was practicing his powers out on Honey. So basically he told her, it would make me really, really happy if you went and fought Rebecca or punched Rebecca right now. So she literally walks up to me and just right off the bat, negotiation violence. And I was like, okay. Like, I thought we were friends. Like, we had talked in Act 1, and she was like, yeah, we'll partner up and we'll kick Roderick's ass. And now she's walking over here like, negotiation violence. Can I punch you in the face? And so I was kind of confused. I was like, what the fuck? So I was like, I guess so. Yeah, like, Rebecca wouldn't see that coming. Sure, punch me in the face. So she punches me, and I'm like, okay, I'll just fall over. So, like, I fall over to the ground, and somebody helps me up. I really can't remember who, but they help me up. And as I'm standing up, she says, you really, really want to retaliate to that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going after her. So I walk back up to her, and I say, negotiation violence. And she was like, okay, what you got? And I was like, I'm just going to run up and yell bitch and just punch you and push you to the ground, like trip you to the ground and then kick you when you're down. And her response was perfect. She was like, hey, like, if you want, we can just full on brawl. Like, I'll fall to the ground and then you just jump on me and we'll like roll around in the dirt and like fight each other for a while. And I was like, okay. I was like, do we need someone to like break us up? Do you want to like assign someone to break us up? But basically everyone around us was like, no, we want to watch this. Like, they were like, no, we're here for the show. We're not breaking that up. So we were like, I guess we'll just fight until somebody decides that they've had enough of it. So we're rolling around on the ground. We're like fighting each other. Not over you, even. I think it was just like, it was literally just vampires making us fight each other, basically.
It started with me doing it. And someone else
and then another vampire was like, oh, this is cool. Let's get him to fight.
Yeah.
So we end up like rolling around on the ground. We're like fighting each other, and her twin brother comes up. What was his name?
I don't remember.
It was like Gumby, or I can't remember.
I can't remember his name either. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, but Honey's twin brother comes up and is like, negotiation violence, as I'm on the ground, like rolling around. He was like, hey, can I like face stomp you real quick? I was like, I guess so, yeah. And he was like, okay. So he like face stomps me. And then I just like instantly stop. I stopped fighting. And they were like, okay, now we're going to pick you up and we're going to throw you over the railing into the dance floor. I was like, okay. And I was like, how are we going to like logistically, I was like, are y'all like legitimately gonna like throw me over? And they were like, we'll just walk you up to the fence and then you walk around. I was like, no, just I'll walk up to the fence and I'll jump over myself. Yeah. So I like jump over onto the dance floor. And at this point I'm like, okay, I just got bit, got all my blood drained, finally recovered, then got into a fight with my baby daddy's ex, and then got stomp faced by her twin brother, thrown into like the rave dance floor. And the peace guru guy was like, whoa, dude, you're way too tense. What is going on? Just relax. It's all about peace, like just have a good time. So I was like, you know what? You're right. Fuck all this. And then I just start dancing. And like the lights are blinking. At this point, I've like basically been walking around with my eyes half open. So like I have not had a sip of drink in me, but like I felt like I was seeing through drinking goggles because my eyes are like half blinked and the strobe lights are going. And so yeah, I'm like dancing, having a good time. Eventually I'm like, okay, I guess I gotta leave and like go figure out where the rest of the group is. So I walk out of the dance floor. I'm walking around for a little bit, and that was pretty much the end of the Act 3 because then Act 2, because then the song for Act 3 came on.
Yeah, and then it was kind of funny, the song, how Act 3 for me started, because my sire was literally talking about, like, don't worry, like, soon you'll get to, like, really let yourself go and just eat all you want and just fulfill the beast's desires. And like all while this conversation has been going on, some of the other vampires are starting to come up to me now, and they're starting to like really notice the necklace and like, why do you have that? Where'd you get it from? The Inquisitor at one point walks to me and they're like, where'd you get that from? Like, why do you have it? Who gave it to you? Like, I'm getting like interrogated. And then at one point, I think I was like, you really should tuck that in your shirt. Like, you're gonna get fucking killed for wearing it. So I tuck it in my shirt, and then my sire comes back and she's like, hey, why is that? Where's your necklace? I was like, I tucked it in my shirt because people are telling me it's like a sign of disrespect and that I shouldn't be wearing it. And then she like takes it and pulls it out. Everyone already knows it's there. I was like, okay. I was like,
you've already been pegged.
I've already been pegged. So then yeah, she's like, don't worry. Pretty soon you'll get to like let the beast unleash and feed. And then as soon as she says that, Ballroom Bliss comes on. She's like, oh, here we are. And then we all start going through the dance floor. And then it's just mass chaos. You were still a human at this point. So yeah. I was basically just feeding. I'm just going to run through this real quick. I ended up finding Tiffany. We had this really cool scene between me, Daphne, Tiffany, and I don't remember, is Dio. Dio, I don't remember your character's name, but it was like the four of us where Daphne like slit her throat. And then me and Dio each got a side of her neck, and then she was just like, ah! And then I went up to my sire. I was like, hey, this is a potential candidate. Why don't you see if you're interested in her? And then she ends up like feeding off of her a little bit, and then she goes and sires her. And my Act 3 was pretty much just kind of like killing blood bags and that sort of thing. What about you?
Yeah. I feel like we definitely, like, you getting turned early on gave you the experience of like doing the vampire stuff like sneakily.
Yeah.
And like having that whole experience. Whereas like me not getting turned until Act 3 gave me a chance of like the mad chaos that was Ballroom Blitz.
Yeah. That's cool. Like, yeah, you're right.
Because for me, like Ballroom Blitz starts playing and literally everyone just takes off to the dance floor running for the dance floor. So I'm like looking around. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Let me go check that out. So I turn around and I'm starting to walk to the dance floor when Jackrabbit, the party drug dealer, walks up behind me and just right off the bat, negotiation violence. And I was kind of confused because I was like, where is this coming from? Like, me and him had no, like, outside of like the game, me and him had no connection. Like we never set anything up. We never had any interaction, like nothing. So I was like, like I wonder what he wants to be violent for. So he comes up, he's like, hey, if you're good with it, like I'm just gonna like knee you and or like basically pull you down to your knees to the ground. And so I was like, okay. So he pulls me down to my knees to the ground, and he was like, what the fuck are you doing here, huh? You're a deadbeat? Is that what you are? You're a deadbeat parent? You're a deadbeat mom? Don't you have a fucking kid? Like, why are you here? And the whole time I'm like shaky voiced. I'm like, I'm just trying to have a fun night. Like, I just want to have a good time. I have my kid all the time. I just wanted a fun night out with my friends. Like, I'm not here to cause any waves. And he was like, no, you're a fucking deadbeat. That's what you are. Where's the kid right now? And I was like, he's with my parents. And he was like, negotiation feed. So I didn't realize that he had gotten turned into a vampire at this point. So I was like, okay, like whatever. So he like grabs my wrist and feeds off my wrist. And then like my character is confused as fuck. Because I feel like that was maybe the first time that she like, I mean, I know you had fed off of me, but I feel like that was just more of a like quiet, like I was confused more. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, what was that? This was like there was no denying what he just did. He was like, there was blood going down my wrist. Like, this is some crazy ass shit. And at that point, everyone around me is screaming and freaking out. So it was like, okay, this went from like something is weird to like something is fucking wrong very quickly, you know? So he does that. He tells me to run. So as soon as he says run, I get up and just haul ass. I start running through the bar, around to the other side, back through the main area. I mean, like, I'm running. I'm hauling ass. And he is running behind me, cackling like a madman. Just, like, cackling and laughing and saying, you better run. That's right. You better run. And I'm, like, running like the girl in the movie that's running that is clearly going to get murdered at the end of this. I am, like, running like all hell. So he ends up running up behind me. He's like, negotiation violence. He's like, I'm just going to take you down to the ground again, like beat you down or whatever. So he takes me down to the ground again. He's like, negotiation feed again. And I was like, okay, sure. And that's another thing I do want to say. Like, you don't have to, if something's making you uncomfortable, obviously you don't have to like go along with it. But the more you kind of just like immerse yourself in it and allow yourself to like just be in the moment, I guess, or whatever, the more like you'll get out of it, you know? Like, so anyway, so yeah, he was like, negotiation feed. And so he feeds again. And then he looks me in my eyes, like just dead center in my eyes, like forehead to forehead. He's like, are you ready to die? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is fucking it? Like, I'm not even going to turn to a vampire. He's going to straight up just fucking murk me. Like, kill me. I'm done. So, he tells me to get up and run, like my life depends on it, because if he catches me again, I forgot exactly the words that he said. Something like, your ass is mine, or like, I'm going to kill your ass, or something like that. So I take off running, like hauling ass. I end up running, and I go to like where the fighting cage was, like in one of those little corners on the side. So I'm like hiding on the side, and I'm like leaned up against the fence. And I'm, like, panting at this point. Because, like, at this point, I'm, like, getting blurred between what's reality and what isn't. Like, are we still just playing a game? Because Jackrabbit's acting was, like, on fucking point. He had me fully believing that he was a psychopath trying to kill me. And it was amazing. I loved it. Like, his acting was so on point. I think at one point, like, after the night was over, he asked you if he made me uncomfortable or whatever. I was like, absolutely not. Like, it was fucking phenomenal. So then I'm, like, leaned up against the fence. And I'm, like, breathing heavy. I'm, like, trying to catch my breath. And another girl that hasn't been turned yet, she still has her red necklace on, leans up against the fence with me, and we're both panting, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? She's like, what kind of fucking party is this? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so we're like, she's just cursing. I mean, like, over and over again, just like, what the fuck is this? And then she looks down at my shoes. And the whole night I had been wearing these shoes where the bottoms, the soles light up. And so the area that we were in is pitch black. You probably couldn't see us if you were just walking by. But my glowing shoes were obviously giving us away. So she starts frantically like yelling at me like, your shoes, your fucking shoes, turn your shoes off, get rid of them. What are you doing? Like, take them off. So I'm like leaning down. I'm like on the ground. I'm like, flicking the little switch, trying to get it to go through all the different colors so I can like hurry up and turn my shoes completely off. And I'm like frantically doing it. And the whole time she's like, just get rid of them. Get rid of them. What are you doing? Just get rid of them. Ditch them. Obviously like me, I was like, I can't fucking run barefoot through this place. Like I need to just turn the shoes off. So I'm like hurrying up trying to get all the lights to go off on my shoes. And when I finally get them both turned off, I like just lift my head, like sigh of relief, like, okay, I'm fine. Well, then I turn my head and look through the cracks of the fence, and Jackrabbit is right there, like coming my way. He is right fucking there. So I literally just turn and look at the girl, and I grab her, and I take off running, and I'm like crying, screaming. I'm like, he's coming. He's right there. Come on, we have to go. And like we take off running. And we run all the way down through all the little like spare rooms, like side rooms. We take off running. I have no idea what happened to her. I was holding her arm at one point, and then the next thing I know, Sam has me. She has both of her hands on each side of my arm, and she's like, Becca, come here. She drags me off to the side over to Gluttony. And she's like, Gluttony, this is her. We have to save her. And so Sam drains all my blood, and then Gluttony turned me. And then I was a vampire. And so the rest of Ballroom Blitz was basically me just like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a fucking vampire now? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is what this is? Like, and then Gluttony just saying, like, you know, why don't you go ahead and try out your skills and try out, like, you know, your powers? Just realize you're the best here. There's no one better than you. You have to walk around this place like you own it, because you do. And, like, telling us, like, basically pumping up our ego, making us very gluttonous. And is that the right word? Gluttonous.
I guess so, yeah.
And and so one of the first people that like I went after, it was like a guy and a girl holding hands, just like doo-doo-doo, walking through the thing, and we were like, yeah, fuck that. Fuck romance. Come over here. Kill your ass. Go after you. So we fed on them, and then there was one of our favorite blood bag. What was his name?
His name's Ace.
Ace.
Okay, you're so great,
you were
man.
our favorite. So at one point, Gluttony like grabs you and is like, let's make this interesting. Like, these are the two most attractive women you've ever seen in your life, and you just can't wait for this moment. And so me and Sam both go at you, and you're just like, oh yeah. Oh God! No! Oh! So we kill him. We just straight up murk him. Like, okay, that was fun. That's done. So we did that, and then things start to like calm down. Like I say, calm down a little bit more. Me and you ran into each other. And
then I think at some point during Act 3, we met up with Nathan. Nathan and Whitney was her character name?
Winter.
Winter.
Yeah,
yes.
Winter was her character name.
So yeah, Nathan would meet up with him, and he's like, yo, like, someone spilled the beans on this thing. Like, they're just using us as a bunch of fucking cannon fodder for some kind of war. And we're like, I don't know about y'all, but I like this new life, kind of. And, like, I'm not looking to just be somebody else's pawn and fucking die. Like, we're trying to live, and he's kind of he looked at the two of us, because, you know, we had gotten through some shit and some drama. He's like, I don't know if you guys want to spend the rest of your eternity fighting, or if you want to maybe just put that shit to the side and try to figure yourselves out. We need to get the fuck out of here. Like, we're about to die.
Yeah.
And we're like, hell yeah. We're like, and then he was talking to us like, okay, so they were talking about packs or something. Like, do anybody know what kind of pack you're in? I was like, well, I was like, yeah, my Sarah mentioned something about 7 deadly sins, and like her name is, greed, or like our tagline is greed. So you think it has something to do with that? It's like, okay, yeah. Yeah, and then I think you were like, oh, mine's gluttony, and then Winter was, I forgot who Winter's star was.
I can't remember. Honestly, I know I was confused at that point because I knew gluttony, but I had no idea about the pacts with the vampires.
Yeah.
I was completely clueless to all that at that point.
I guess technically we all of it character wise, we were all confused as fuck. Like, what?
But like even Bethany was fucking confused. Bethany had no idea. I was just like, oh wait, there's pacts, and that was like acting and real life. Yeah. So that made it easy to pretend that I didn't know what was going on because I really fucking did. Yeah.
So then Nathan was like, okay, so the plan is like we're gonna do whatever we need to do to survive tonight, but tomorrow we're getting the fuck out of here. And he's like, if there's anybody else you want to put in this little group, bring it by all of us before you fucking tell anybody about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, sounds good. So we like, they would break off, and then me and you kind of alone, and we kind of just like, okay, I think we need to put this bullshit beside, and like, I think we need to make this work. And then you started talking about, well, what about Thomas? I was like, where is he? He's with my parents. Like, okay, well, we got time. We got to figure out how to survive tonight and tomorrow, and then we get to Thomas and figure out how to raise him and just where to go from there.
Yeah. And then at that point, Jackrabbit came back up to me, and I saw him out the corner of my eye, like, someone was trying to talk to him. He was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then he's like, I'll do that later. Right now I have to. And then he like made eye contact with me. He was like, hey. And then he noticed my necklace was gone, that I was a vampire now. And he was like, hey, no hard feelings, right? I mean, I was just trying to help you out. Like, it is what it is. We're cool. Yeah. And then he's like, here, something to take the edge off. And then he like passed it to me and said like, hey, if you get somebody else to take those and feed off of them, it gives you a better high, like 10 times better high or whatever. Yeah. And that is something like, you know, looking back at it or like thinking back on it, if I was like more, this was my first time, so I feel like a lot of the stuff, like, I was maybe a little bit more hesitant. But if I would have, like, really just been driving my character like the car was on fire, like Matt kept telling us to do, I probably would have, like, negotiation violence and just, like, chokeholded him against the fence right there and just been like, you son of a bitch, you know?
Yeah, there was a couple of times, too, I was like, oh, yeah, if maybe I was a little more comfortable with LARPing, I would have done some X, Y, Z stuff.
Like, I think, you know, if we...
Not that we didn't have fun, but
no,
looking back,
absolutely.
like, oh, it would have been so cool if I would have did this.
Yeah, and I think that, like, if you are more experienced in LARPing, then, like, you'll probably seize the moment with things like that. Whereas, like, for me, I just was, like, so new to it. Like, part of me was just, like, I mean, you saw me when he walked up to me. I was like, okay, yeah, bye. You know? But looking back on it, you know, I don't know. If I ever end up in that opportunity again, there'd be some negotiation violence going on. Yeah, but that was pretty much the end of our Act 3.
Pretty much. Yeah, it was kind of like talking, and then, you know...
There wasn't much talking in Act 3.
Chomping on somebody.
That was at the very end of Act 3 into Act 4, I would say. Yeah. Because Act 3 was pretty much the whole time just nonstop chaos. Yeah. And that's when, like, the blood really started pouring, too. That's when the buckets of blood with, like, ladles and... Yeah. There was just so much blood everywhere. Well,
especially when in Act 4 hit, that was the whole blood rave. That's where the blood really came out.
Yeah.
And the blood was shooting everywhere, and like, that was fun. And then that's kind of when the witness kind of really got to, like, the witness was fucked. Like, the witness was the only human left alive, and they were supposed to stay alive, and they were going to be like the person to tell the Camarilla, which was the people necklace I was wearing, like basically tell them, like, show them what happened. And wow, like, she played that part well.
She did.
Like, wow.
She was a trooper because honestly, if I were in her shoes, I probably would have been like in the sanctuary tent from like the beginning of Act 3 on.
Like, so she's still a human in this blood rave. Like, everyone around her is a vampire. Like, if you think of the Blade blood rave scene, like, it's pretty much that, except no one's trying to kill her. They're just trying to, like, torture her and get her to drink blood and, like, touch the entrails of the corpses that are hanging above the rave and like, yeah, it was crazy.
She was a trooper.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been able to. I legitimately would have been like, no, I'm going to need counseling if you guys continue. Because she had to be such a trooper for that.
That was awesome.
Yeah, she was great.
It seemed like, to me, looking in that seems like a fun role. I don't know. It seems cool.
If you're down
I would
for
love
constant torture for like, and
Yeah.
like not just a little while, that was like a good 2 hours of like constant belittlement.
Oh yeah. But it was all in fun.
I mean, yeah. No, it's all in fun, and I'm sure like people kept checking in with her.
Good? Oh
Yeah.
Someone was probably always holding the okay sign somewhere.
You good?
So she could like hold her thumb or something.
Yeah. Show us your thumbs. Which direction are we? Are we good?
So the blood rave happens, and then it ends, and that's when shit gets real.
Yeah.
Where we talk about, I think his name was Dane. He was playing a Dominion, which was like the big guy you do not fuck with. He's kind of giving us a speech about Cain, and like his speech was cool. Like he was like, yelling, and I don't know, it was just awesome. And it was like praise Cain, and then my I don't know, my favorite part, I guess. So the witness is like on her hands and knees in the middle of all this, and he's like talking about Cain and how God abandoned Cain and all this stuff, and then they're like, someone looks at the witness and they're all like yelling at her, say it, praise Cain, like to get her to say it. Like, holy shit. That
was my least favorite part.
Yeah, that was your least favorite part.
You know that was my least favorite part.
Yeah.
Going into it, because I know, like, obviously it's just a game.
Yeah.
And I get that, and it's just role playing. But like for me personally, we had talked before, and that's something I recommend too. Before you go into anything like this, do like a self-check, like a self-awareness. What are you okay with? What are you not okay with?
Yeah.
What, and especially if you're going in with like a significant other, a partner.
Yeah, because we had talked in the hotel.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what are you not like? I don't
Like
wanna...
if I see, I told him like I am okay if I saw somebody like feeding on your neck or whatever. Like that's not something that like would necessarily bother me. But if I see you making out with someone, I'll kick your ass. Like these are my hard limits. I'm okay with, touching above the waist. Like that's okay. Like, this is what's okay for me. What's okay with you. And we had that conversation like beforehand. And in that conversation, one of my things was like, I am not okay with praising anyone but God. Yeah. And I know that we're just acting, and I know it's just part of a thing, but like, I'm a very religious person, and it's hard for me to dissociate that, So I told Dylan, I was like, it's not that I'm just going to like leave the whole scene and not be a part of it at all. I just personally will not be saying that throughout the experience. If I was the witness, there's no way I could have been the witness.
Because they're like,
I couldn't have done it because I wouldn't have said it. I just wouldn't. And then it would just like ruin the whole like thing. Yeah. So nobody noticed that I wasn't saying it. Nobody forced me to.
No, yeah,
nobody, it was very, it was whatever. But yeah, that was a hard limit for me. So whenever they got to those speeches about God abandoning Cain and all that stuff, I was like, oh God, I'm so like, I kind of was uncomfortable, not uncomfortable enough to go like to the sanctuary tent or excuse myself, obviously, but that I think that was the hardest part for me of the whole night.
Of the whole night
was just like remembering that we're just acting, we're just role playing. These people aren't legitimately praising Cain, like
right. Whereas me, I was like, yeah, this is cool. I'm yelling. I was like, praise Cain.
Oh yeah, you were having fun with it. Fun. Yeah. I had a harder time. With that, but that was just me.
But and
it didn't. I don't think it took away from my experience.
I don't think so either. By the way, like the excitement we had after talking about it, like
yeah.
So then after the speech, we all break up to our packs and we do the Vaulderie ritual, and I thought that was cool. And I'm really not even familiar with the pack lore too much. I don't know much about the Sabbat as much as I do the Anarchs and Camarilla. But Pride was the one that was kind of giving the speech, and I thought her speech was pretty badass.
She was badass. Yeah.
And
honestly, each of the seven was fucking
all the
badass.
7 deadlies were badass. Like Lust, Pride, Envy, like am I missing Wrath? Y'all were all cool.
Yeah.
The Vaulderie was cool. The only complaint I had was that me and you were standing by the blood fountain, and it was super hard to hear.
It was loud. That fountain was loud.
It was. I couldn't hear. Like, because we were going around, and like each member of the 7 deadlies would like put their children in the middle to like see who would be their like favorite or their chosen of like their children, and pretty much all of them were facing their backs to us, and I couldn't hear anything that they were saying. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, that fountain was
the
loud.
fountain was a little too loud, but other than that, it was still a cool scene. And then
Yeah.
we had the Vaudry ritual where we all drank our blood, which was like the blood that they mixed together. That was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So like basically we went around and everybody bit their wrist and put it in the pitcher basically, and then they passed around cups and we all toasted and drank, right? Yeah. But before she passed it out, she just like puts up the little R symbol in the air and she's like, okay, like reality check or whatever, just so you guys know, it's grape juice, or what was it, like cranberry juice, grape juice. And then like she's going glitter. And then she says an edible glitter, just because we're like a little extra, you know, like it was so funny. I was like, that's great. And literally I had to like hold up the cup to see the glitter. I was like, yo, where's it? I was like,
hey, oh, this shit is cool. This is some next level blood, bro.
Like, that's pretty cool neat.
Yeah. So then we drink the blood, and then there was some...
My only thing too that I slightly wish, but I don't, because I would not have wanted to be a part of any other group besides the 7, because they were like fucking badass. I loved them.
Yeah.
But I do kind of wish we were in separate groups, just so we could have had like a different experience. Yeah. Because we stood right next to each other for that entire
pretty much
part.
The rest of the night.
The rest of the night we were right next to each other. So our stories are exactly the same, pretty much.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, obviously a little different, but like, there's nothing that you witnessed that I didn't at that point, because we were in the same group from then on.
But from like our like little inner group escape group perspective, it was cool because like 3 of the 4 of us were in the group, and then Nathan like got adopted into our pack. Yeah. So like
I think Nathan picked up on the fact that like he was not in the same group as the rest of us, and he was like, fuck this, how do I get into the 7? I gotta figure it out. And so then the next thing you know, he's in our group and we were all together.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. And then I think for his chosen ritual, I was like cheering him on and trying to make sure he was chosen. I was like, I don't know, maybe it means he's less likely to get killed. Just trying to like save Nathan. I got your back, bro. Yeah. I know you had my back. I want to make sure I had yours. So then the Vaudrys kind of wrap up, and then they have a fight. Like that's when during the rave, like the Slotcha and I think a werewolf come out, and they end up fighting each other. But we kind of missed that because we were doing our Vaudry stuff. And then that's when we go to like pretty much the last part of the night, which is the Monumency Pit, which was the big cage fighting thing. And the lore behind it is that all the new vampires here, you know, they just got turned, so they probably still have beef with some of the people here. So basically, you go in this pit, and whether the terms are submission or death, once you leave the pit, like whatever beef you had is gone, and you're part of Sabbat, and that shit stays behind. That was cool. I liked it. I saw Darby fighting at one point when she got the chainsaw. I was cheering on for Darby. That was cool to watch. And I didn't really understand, like, I don't know the lore, like they had those acts of contrition things. I had to do some research. I was like, oh, this is cool. I don't know what's going on, but this is fucking cool. Yeah. And then some people got branded. I didn't know what symbolized certain people getting branded versus others. But I thought that was cool as well. And then eventually my thing came up. So I had a plan. Being I was wearing the Camarilla Ankh, I talked to the 7 Delis because I thought they were cool. And they had the idea of me getting Diablerized by all of them because they just couldn't rule out if I was a Camarilla spy or not. And so they brought me into the middle, and Matt was there too. And then they just kind of all questioned me. And then Pride was awesome. Like, does anybody believe him? No, kill him, reclaim the blood, like screaming all the cool stuff. And then like one by one, they like tortured me basically. And the witness was there like, no, you have to win. And I can just kind of remember like looking up at her with like this somber look that like, I wish her words were true. But Roderick knew he was fucked. Like there was no getting out of this.
And Nathan came up to me. So probably like 2 minutes before they pulled you into the ring. Yeah. Nathan comes up and is like, hey, I think Roderick's in trouble. And at this point, like Rebecca knew long before that you were in trouble with the 7. Yeah. And so she basically just told him like, I know. Like I've been knowing there's no hope for him. Like he is not coming with us. And he's like, wait, what do you mean you know? Like, you know that he's in trouble with them? How? Like what is it? And I was like, I don't know. I just know that the 7 have been watching him. They've been very interested in this necklace he has on. They keep asking him questions, things that I don't really understand. And I just know he's in trouble. And that's all I know. And he was like, well, we have to help him. We have to help him. And I just stopped him and just like cold, like straight faced, like, we can't help him. Like, he's done.
Damn.
He's going to die.
Damn.
And, yeah. And so then, you know, after you had died or whatever, he basically was just like, so we good still? Like, the three of us can escape then, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was like, I just want to make sure the plan is still intact, okay?
Yeah.
Are the three of us getting the fuck out of here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so
yeah, and then cutting back to like the whole Diablo scene, like my idea going into it, which I hadn't thought of it until I got into the ring and like they were like, you know, torturing me. I was like, oh, it'd be cool to like, you know, Rebecca and Roderick have this like disastrous relationship. It'd like be cool, like, oh, he's on death's door, like he's gonna die. It'd be cool, like call out to Rebecca and be like, apologize for, you know, abandoning you, Rebecca and her baby and just chasing this dream that he's been trying to chase so hard that he's got like heroin addiction and like depression and like suicidal thoughts and stuff. But like he could have just like stuck with Rebecca and probably had a much more like like happier life.
you
so,
still
like,
would have ended up at that party.
Oh, I still would have been at the party. No, just like he,
Yeah.
like in his mind, I had like he'd be like retracing his steps and like, you know, like when your life flashes before your eyes kind of thing. So it's like, oh, it'd be cool if he like calls out to Rebecca, like, I'm sorry for everything, I love you. But then I realized, like, holy shit, like you're like literally like you're clinging to the cage, like leaning in, like right in front of Roderick, and it just played out so cool.
I did that on purpose though. I thought it would be like significant if cool. I was like standing right in front of you when you died.
Yeah, that is true. So yeah, so like they're each torturing me, and as they each torture me, like Matt's like talking like you've been like researching this, haven't you? He's like asking these questions, and then they just like keep going. They go through each one of the 7 delis, and then it finally gets back to my sire, and then she like looks at me with like this grin. I'm just like, just get this over with. And she's like, oh no, we're gonna make this last a while. And she's like, you have any last words? And then I'm like, I look at you or Rebecca. I'm like, I love you. And then she's like, oh, Becca. Everyone's like, oh, Becca. Like, Becca, get her. They're like, get her
and
in
some
here.
people who had, like, no idea what our story was or, like, what they're like, who the fuck is Becca? Who is that? Like, why did he say Becca?
Yeah.
Who is that?
So they call you into the ring, and then they make you stand in front of me, and I forgot I don't know what happened first. Like, did you kiss me first?
Yeah, no. So they, she asked if I loved you. And I said, of course I do. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I leaned in and kissed you.
Yeah. And then I couldn't see because she was standing up behind me. She was like, you know, it would really, really make me happy if you would kill him.
Yeah, so it was kind of crazy because, like, I kissed you and then I pulled back and I looked up and she is literally right over you with, like, this menacing just, like, grin. And she's just like, it would make me really, really happy if you ate him right now. And then that was it. Like, I had to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I got diablerized by you, of all people. That's crazy. Yeah. And then I died. And I kind of, like, I wanted to walk off to get out of the scene just because I was dead. And like, I just wanted to, like, disappear.
Yeah.
And then at some point later, not long after that, I think the event, the LARP ended.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was the last thing in the cage.
It was?
And then,
okay.
and then everybody was escorted out of the thing, and then they burned it down.
And then we got to watch it burn down, which was cool. And then we got to take pictures. And
then Nathan outside was like, we're getting out of here, okay?
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, our characters survive as vampires, okay? We're not going to the war army thing, whatever. No, we're getting the fuck out of here.
That's awesome. And then the night ended.
Yeah.
And, it was great. It was fucking cool. I'm already ready to go back next year.
I know you are.
Yeah.
I sense
we got to bring, and we're gonna bring some of my D&D group people that I know they would fucking love this.
Yeah.
So just again, Matt, all the staff, everything, like it was legit.
Yeah. Everybody was so welcoming.
The community, everyone that was there was like I feel like they were like my best friend.
Yeah. I feel like next year is going to be even better. I don't even want to set the bar even higher.
Yeah.
But like I will, because this was our first time ever LARPing. And looking back on it now, I'm already thinking of things like, I should have done this.
Yeah, me too.
I should have reacted like this.
Yeah.
I kind of played it safe. Like, or I sat still for this part and didn't say anything when I should have just done this. Like, what stopped me?
Yeah, I did some of, I had some of the same scenes in my head. Oh, it would have been cool if I would have, just went fucking wild right here. Or, did more with this, more with that.
Yeah.
But
I feel like now I have a better idea of how it all goes down and how it works, too. So, like, maybe I can go with, like, a little bit more development next time rather than just, like, my name's Becca.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, Jackelope Live Action Studios. Thank you guys for putting this on. Thank you for those who decided to listen. Sorry, we're kind of. I just got off of a 12-hour shift, and we both work today, so we're kind of.
Yeah,
tired.
I'm actually not a deadbeat mom.
Yeah, we're not deadbeats.
I just worked a full shift and then had a child for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That I just put to bed. So
we're a little tired. So sorry if our story sounds kind of all over the place, but to be honest, to really understand all the shit we're talking about, I guess you just have to be there.
You have to be there for yourself.
Yeah.
And even then, like, we talked about this. Like, there are so many stories
go
on in there. I mean, like, there's 150 people, and every single person has their own story that is completely different.
Crazy.
No one has the same story. So it's just, pretty crazy.
So that's it, guys. Thanks again. Love all of you. Hope to hear from you guys in the future. And those of you who have gone last year, or whoever listens to this down the road, if you're thinking about going, like, don't question it. Just all in. Just go. Trust me, you'll have a great time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Even if you're unsure about it, if your spouse is like, "This sounds so badass," and you're like, "Oh, it looks kind of weird. I don't want to do that." Go.
Yeah, do it. You won't regret it.
That was pretty much me, and I mean, I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
All right. Well, guys, take care and peace out.
Bye.